Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Altcoin Mentors YouTube channel. My name is Peter, and today I'm going to be talking about the super long-term views on a technical basis for Bitcoin, Ether, Litecoin, Ripple, and Bitcoin Cash. So what I mean about super long-term, these are not swing trades, these are position holdings that you might make. So investment grade type of strategies for the future. So let's start off with Bitcoin. So one of the things that I do is that I'm a technician. I only look at the charts. Fundamentals are important to some people, but for me, charts tell me everything because charts are basically a snapshot of supply and demand and what people are thinking, where supply is and where demand is, and where it might go into the future. So today we're going to be looking at the weekly charts for Bitcoin. And so when I look at the weekly charts for Bitcoin, I'm not as scared as maybe some other people. Yes, we're in a bear market because it's gone down from 19,000 into the 8,400 range right now. But from a long-term viewpoint, Bitcoin still looks pretty strong because of where it has come from. And so right now on a weekly chart, it's still above the 50 EMA. And recently, we've had a color change on our second weekly candle. And if it confirms and closes above 8,400, which is our first major hurdle, then it could possibly go back up to 11.7. And if it passes 11.7, then in my opinion, I expect it to go past 20,000 and create new highs. So I don't use extension lines, I don't use angles, I don't use percentages. I know a lot of people use like fib stuff and Elliott wave stuff. So all I know is that if it gets past 13,000, around that point, then it has a very good shot of creating a new higher high wave up to the upside. I just don't know where that top is going to be, but in theory, it should be above 20,000. That's where it was before. So this time now is very important because if you look at this candle over here, after the move to the upside, right? So let's look at it from the downside here. So in this weak spot here, we have color change, color change, color change, color change, color change, but there's no confirmation except only to the upside. So last September, same thing. It dropped from 4,000 all the way to 3,000, but it never confirmed to the downside, and it started going higher. And then even in January, it changed color, and then changed color right back. But the dangerous part for this one was that it didn't change color back to the upside. So if I was a long-term player, position player in Bitcoin back then, what I've done is I would have taken profits somewhere around 12,500, right? And hopefully try to get back in later at a better price. And that better price almost came at around 11,700. So we're not talking about being perfect, about timing the top of the 20 and trying to get in at the bottom of 6,000. When we look at this chart, everything is historical. So we can say, oh, we should have gotten out here and we can get back in here. But at that time, no one knows, right? No one knows anything. So just by playing it on a technician chart, like what I would have done, I would have placed my stop first time here at around 11,596, never confirmed, so it went higher. And then once it changed color to the downside, I would have put my stop loss at about 12,500, right? It would have taken me out, and I would have tried to get back in around 11,800, but it never went up higher. That's what I mean about that's an important part. And now, if I'm a position player right now, I might try to get in at somewhere around 8,400. Sorry, I'll take that back because it just went up there. Somewhere in the 8,500 range, but it has to close, above that range. And you have to be very careful up until it gets to around 11,700 because this box here is an inside box. What I mean by that is that it's dominated by this one big giant candle. So this giant candle, the high and the low, is so big that it dominates this whole area, everything beyond it. So it overshadows. So in candlestick form, people would call this a long black belt, because it covers and dominates everything. So until it can really break above or below this area, right, it doesn't have a chance to go up. So the good news is that as of now, I think it has a very good chance of going higher. The bad news, though, is that if it breaks this box at 6,000, Then the next targets lower are 4,400 and 3,000. So we're talking about way low in terms of a percentage. And if it breaks that, then it can go even further, 1,800 and 1,300. So that would mean, you know, a 90% decline from the highs. So that's where it can go if it breaks. But it's been holding for the last 3 months in this little range. And once it makes its mind, I feel like it's going to shoot up either way. But until that time comes, what I've been doing is I've been making day trades and swing trades inside of this box and trying to make a little bit of money while I can. So let's look at Ether. So the long-term view of Ether doesn't look as good as Bitcoin. And the main reason why is because it closed below the 50 EMA. It did bounce back, and right now the price is so it's been teetering in that area for a while, and unfortunately it broke below the February low, and there's nothing that kind of stand in its way. The good news though is that the weekly though has changed to the upside, and if we look back on a historical point of view, every time the weekly has changed to cyan to the upside and confirmed, it has gone higher. So if it breaks up past this high here, which is at around, I'm going to make it bigger, zoom in so we can get a better view of this number here. So the number is about 566. If it can break, you know, that level here above there, then I think it has a chance of going back up to 780 and then maybe back up to the 1200 range. But if it breaks lower, this is a case where Ether can have major problems because the major support line at 440 has been holding very well, but below that is 290, and below that it drops, you know, precipitously because it goes up to 190, and then below that it goes all the way down into the single digits. There's nothing there. So this zone here is what I call blue ocean, because once it took off starting from last February 2017, it never really looked back. It just went straight up for 6 months and never had a chance to kind of like stabilize. So because of that, if it goes back down into this level here, there's nothing stopping it from going way, way low. So that is the dangerous part for Ether. But so far it looks okay. This is, for me, it's a neutral. Doesn't look as good as Bitcoin. So let's look at Litecoin. Litecoin looks actually pretty strong as well, almost similar to Bitcoin. It hasn't crashed through its lows of February. It's come very, very close, but it's done a very good job of holding the line at 106, which is the support line there. It's bounced off the 50 weekly EMA a couple times, and if it can cross up a little bit higher past 200 and then close up again past 260, that's the key zone, then I think it can go back up into the 400 range. So Litecoin looks a little bit better than Ether, not as good as Bitcoin. So let's look at what I think are the two worst looking charts on a long-term basis. So the first one is first one is Ripple. So the problem with the next two, Ripple and Bitcoin Cash, is that there's not a lot of history. They're both relatively new. And because of that, it's hard to chart it on a long-term viewpoint because it doesn't even really have a whole year's worth of data for Ripple. So because of that, it's hard to figure out like where things can go. Because Ripple just basically, you know, started in the 30 cents, 20 cent area, took off right away to over $3, and they came crashing down to earth into the 40-cent range, and now it's currently at 65 cents. So unfortunately here is that it closed below the lows of February. If on a weekly basis here, if it can close above 72 cents, which was one of my support targets way back when it was around here. If it can close above 72 and then confirm to the upside, it has a very good chance of getting to 85 cents and back up to a $1.20. I don't know if it'll get back up to the $3 range up here. That's a little bit high, but I think it does have a fair chance of getting to 120, and that's why I think that it doesn't look as good as some of the others, because it might not make a new higher high to the upside. And unfortunately for the downside risk, it's pretty bad. Because if it breaks this level of 40 cents, the next level is 30 cents and 20 cents. Below 20 cents, there's nothing there. Like, just absolutely nothing. It doesn't exist. So because of that, it could be a very dangerous pattern. Same thing with Bitcoin Cash. Because it's relatively new and it did skyrocket up, went all the way up to the wick of about 4,000, and right now it's at the 770. It looks pretty bad because it broke the lows of February. We're still on our first color change. It is bouncing off of some nice support line at 620, which I called a couple of weeks ago. But if it breaks this level here, which is 530, then the next lower level is 328. And if it breaks there, there's nothing down there, right, to support it. So that's why for me, Bitcoin Cash and Ripple are, for investment grade coins, I'm not really a big fan of them. My choice right now is all of the top 5 heavily traded ones. It would be Bitcoin, Litecoin, and then Ether. Bitcoin and Litecoin have the best chance of getting to the higher highs. You can make a nice amount of money. But unfortunately for now, the problem is that we're still in a neutral stance on the long-term aspects. Until it confirms for Bitcoin above 8,400 and gets past 11,700, it can't get to 20,000. Always remember that. Before it gets to 50,000, it has to get to 20,000 first. Before it gets to 20,000, it has to get to 11,800 first. Before it gets to 11,800, it has to clear this next hurdle at 8,500. Don't forget that we have Twitter and Telegram and a model portfolio that you can always log into. If you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button below. Subscribe and share it with your fellow crypto traders in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.